Welcome back. I am excited you're here. I know you're ready to get down to business. You want to do some work. You want to activate that confidence. You want to know what it is you got to do to get to the next level. I've talked to you a lot about one of my clients in particular, and I want to take the time to just reveal a little bit of myself to you. Now, I was a cosmetologist for 20 years. I had clientele that stuck with me until the very end before I relocated from St. Louis. For those of you that don't know, I'm currently a resident in Houston. But for a woman who started doing hair as a sophomore in high school, who had a business savvy mentality, who had a clientele that went with me all across the state of St. Louis, no matter where I moved, they were always there, and we shed many tears together. When I ended that journey with them, I still know what it looks like to have a moment when your confidence shrinks. And this is one of the reasons why I really had to dig deep and understand the importance of my own system. So what happened to me is I ended up connecting with a woman who designed jewelry. And in the process of trying to help her get her business off the ground, I ended up realizing I had a knack for making jewelry too. And I was like, hey, just to make sure you have enough pieces for your exhibit, I'll make some jewelry with you. And I thought it was just going to be kind of just a little thing, to do. And I ended up realizing I had an excellent knack for it. And I also had a lot of desire in me to do it. It was not a passion, but I definitely was drawn to it. And what do you think? Since I'm a hairstylist, women come to me, they get their hair done. So naturally, I could double the opportunity to make some money because I can do their hair and then they can buy their jewelry from me. And you know what? A lot of my clients did. One of them in particular even invited me to sell at a show, and the list of opportunities goes on and on and on. But you want to know something that was really, really funny? Several of my clients came to me and they were like, August, how much do you want for this necklace or for this set? Do you know that if I go to this place or that place, I could buy something of a lesser caliber for like triple the amount of what you're charging? And I would hear these women and I would hear what they would say to me, and I would be like, yeah, I hear you. And then it would be the infamous but. I haven't been making jewelry that long. I'm trying to build my clientele, and well, I just want to make sure that the product is really, really good before I start charging too much for it. And I masqueraded and put my little face on, and I shielded it in faith and love, and well, this is a way for me to bless other women and not charge them too much and they can have beautiful jewelry. The bottom line is really I was insecure. I shrunk. I wasn't comfortable with charging the prices, even though multiple clients were telling me I was practically giving my jewelry away. It took a long time for me to find my self-worth. I also ended up finding out that it really wasn't my passion either. But that just kind of goes back to what I was explaining from the beginning. There is often a misconception that when we say lack of confidence, that we're talking about people that are lazy or shiftless. No, it's the excellent people. It's the striving, successful individuals who need that extra nudge once it's time to go to the next level. And yes, I have found it to be rather amazing how our past can come back to haunt us and prevent us from being able to move forward. So like I was telling you in the last video, I want us to look at our past so that it can empower us. Now, some of you may have joined in video 2 and I said go back to video 1 and you may have been bad and you didn't go back. But honestly, in order to do this part, if you haven't looked at video 2, you seriously need to go back because it's going to make or break what you get from this time that we're about to spend together. I also want to just kind of, get it in your mind. You can download the sheets. There's an opportunity to download the PDF below. but this isn't something that you rush through. So I'm going to talk you through the process, and I'm also going to give you an example. But my system does require you to think. It does require you to work, because I'm trying to build your muscles and take you to a completely different level in your life. So let's begin. The first part of my system helps you identify your inner strength. Strengths that you naturally operate in and you probably took for granted and didn't even recognize. And how we do this is we look at a time in our life when we had to achieve something great, what maybe seemed impossible, and we have to take that situation and go back, analyze it, and remember it. What I want you to do is basically journal it. Write down what it is that occurred in your life. And the reason why you journal it is because sometimes when you're talking through things, especially when you're talking to people, there's an automatic mechanism that never allows anybody to be 100% vulnerable. We all will be vulnerable to a degree, but nobody, and I mean literally nobody, tells somebody everything. But when we write things down, there's a tendency for us to get free, and I really can't even explain it. But there's a lot of power in journaling. So you take that incident that you meditated on and just write it out. What was going on? What were the circumstances? And why did you set this goal? Whatever it was that you had to accomplish. After you do that, what you have to do is sit back and reflect. You always have to reflect before you go to the next phase of any step in my system. And you have to say, okay, now I know what it was that I said I was going to do. How did I do it? Now, this is going to require you to be extremely detail oriented. You can't just say, oh, I decided that in order to get rid of my, financial debts, I decided to go and get another job, and I got that second job and I worked that. No. We need details. We need to know what it looked like. I was in a situation, I was dealing with a lot of debt. I needed another source of income. It took me 3.5 weeks of filling out 50 applications online. Be really detailed about everything that you did. Because if you don't, you're going to shortchange what comes at the end. The more detailed you are, when you get to step 3, you will end up pulling out a lot about yourself. Okay? So for instance, what happens in part 3 is you say, okay, let me go back and pull out just the positives. What worked? What did I do? And you start listing just those things. And you can kind of list them more as bullet points. And then the last thing you do is a little bit more challenging. You take those bullet points and you need to label them as characteristics. Either it can be a couple of words in a phrase, but if you can label it in just one word, that pretty much magnifies the process. So that's giving it to you, bam, bam, bam. I want to use an example with someone that I work with to really help you understand the power in this exercise. So I dealt with a young woman who had dated a man since she was in high school, and they had been together all her life. They had had several children, and he ended up becoming abusive and controlling. After going through some things in her life, she finally realized that she needed to break away from this situation, and she just jumped out there. She called, friends and family, asked them could she stay with them. She had to do a lot of things that she had never done before, as far as filing paperwork to get birth certificates. She had to do everything, enroll the kids in school. She ended up having to sleep on a couch. The friend had a bed for the kids. Find a job, understand how to shop for her own toiletries. I mean, this woman literally, she didn't do a whole lot of things. And it was very brave of her to move. But once again, remember, confidence, a lot of us exhibit it, but then when it's time to go to the next phase, sometimes we shrink. And she was about to shrink once it came time to find a place to live because she couldn't stay with who she was staying with forever. And by that point, our relationship had come together. And I said, okay, let me help this woman out and let me understand just how amazing and how powerful she is. So when I made her go back and write down everything that she went through, why she got out of that relationship, what was her goal, why did she leave, and I had her start listing out all of these changes and everything that she did, she was able to find herself. So what she saw as, well, it was a traumatic experience and, I slept on my friend's couch, I was like, oh, so you're humble. She's like, okay, I never thought about that. Okay, but you had never gotten this kind of paperwork and taken care of these kind of actions, but you figured it out. So that means that you're resourceful. Okay, you guys seeing what I'm talking about? When you start looking at the things that you did to deal with a circumstance, it begins to bring out characteristics about you. So she realized that she was brave, that she was courageous, she was a go-getter, all of these different types of words that you could use to describe her. When we were doing that, and for me to be telling her, hey, you're all of these things, it was kind of like, oh my God. And because she was working with me and I was coaching her through it, I was like, sweetie, you left out two characteristics. You're also worthy and you're loved. Okay? Because people came to her aid. They helped her because it was what she deserved. So when you go through the exercise and you go through the process and you begin to look at your life, the challenges and the obstacles that you've overcome, the goals that you set and you met against the odds, instead of just saying, yeah, I was strong. Yeah, I made it through. It's a lot more impacting when you can say, I am, and complete the sentence with a multitude of characteristics. Bottom line, that would be like somebody like myself. Me saying, oh, I don't have a problem speaking in public because I'm an excellent orator. I have an excellent vocabulary. I get along with people from all types of walks of life, and the list just goes on and on. See, we're not taught to brag on ourselves. And that's something that I teach people. There isn't anything wrong with knowing who you are. The problem with a lot of us is that we've had to go through these identity crises. And the only time we can feel comfortable saying something positive, isn't it funny, is when it's about somebody else. I mean, honestly, think about it. When you go on a job interview, what is one of the most difficult questions that almost everybody has to rehearse over and over again? Can you please tell me something positive about yourself? What are your strengths? And all of us have to be, oh my God. When you do your mock interviews, you even when you practice, you're still like, I gotta practice. I am good at working independently. It's like I'm saying all of the same regular stuff that I would say, and you don't free flow. And that isn't normal. Most of us, when we talk, we can, I'll use Beyonce. I know everybody's not a Beyonce fan, and I'm not saying I am or I ain't. Oh, don't get the Beast thing. Anyway, but what I'm saying is, if somebody were to say, hey, do you like Beyonce? Yeah. Why? Oh, man, she's bad. She can sing. She can dance. She's entertaining. She's really powerful. She's got charisma. She's an excellent mother. She has style, swag, blah, 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 blah. Her hair be on fleek. And all you just go, right? But if somebody says, why do you like yourself? It's kind of like, weird question. So what I do is the first piece of empowerment is getting you to understand that it's okay to brag on you. And for my listeners, especially if you are business owners, who's going to have to be your best marketer? You see, you aren't like some people when they have a job. It's like, where do you work? Oh, I work at Kentucky Fried Chicken. They can disassociate themselves from where they work. When somebody says, who are you? And I say I'm August, they also say, that's created. I'm both entities. I am what people see, and I am how people identify my company. So if I can't look at myself and say how wonderful I am and walk with confidence, then how will anybody else know? Now, one of the things I do, and I'm throwing this in as a bonus, And some people might think that, I kind of pick on, the Christian perspective, but I don't. I was raised Christian. A lot of times, the only way that they can identify themselves is only as it pertains to God or as it pertains to Jesus. I am who I am in the name of Jesus, and without his name and without recognizing God, we don't realize that subconsciously that also makes you tear yourself down. Even the Bible says that you're fearfully and wonderfully made. Okay? It's okay to know who you are. The Bible says that you boldly go before the throne of grace. So I don't care where you come from. I don't care where your walk of life, what your walk of life is. Even from a spiritual perspective, you have got to learn to love yourself. And it's a lot better if you can actually say, like my lady friend, that I'm bold and I'm humble and I'm courageous, I'm responsible, I'm a go-getter, I'm a resourceful individual. So I know I kind of jumped and said a lot of other things, but let's go back to her, because we were talking about the fact that she needed to move. So when she was nervous about doing it, it was kind of like, wait a minute, her whole demeanor changed. She was like, no, I'm going to go out here and I'm going to find me an apartment. Why wouldn't someone want to rent to me? Because I'm resourceful, I'm hardworking, I'm responsible, I'm a good mother, which means I'll be responsible with their property. And she had so much confidence that when she met a landlord, if they didn't accept her, she knew she was resourceful enough to find somebody else that would. Okay? She knew that she was worthy and loved enough that eventually somebody would give her a place to stay. And guess what? It didn't take her long at all. She did. So if I can help someone who came from not even knowing who they were at all to become so empowered that they could achieve something that just seemed like, oh my God, this is ridiculous, then how much greater can this work for you? So I don't know what your story is. I don't know what you're trying to get past. I don't know what you're trying to accomplish or what you're trying to do. You have a choice to make. You're either going to do it or you're not. Now, for some of you, doing the exercise that I just talked about, you may have to do it a couple of times. You go through it, though, with only one scenario. But some of you, because you went through so many different ups and downs, if you take one scenario at a time and completely dissect it, then another scenario at a time and completely dissect it, then you may be able to find even more characteristics about yourself. Some people's lives are a little bit more traumatic than others, and so it basically requires a lot more digging down deep into the root. But this is the first step in the system. This helps you identify who you are. Now, I know I shared a lot with you, and I know that it was beneficial, but there's more. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to have you wait until the next video, because like I said, what I give you, it does take a lot of thought and good intention and motivation. So I have one last video, and I'm actually going to give you some bonus information about some things that I do with my clients. So I hope you really, really, really got the gist of this. I highly encourage you to rewind it. You probably need to go back and listen to it again just to make sure that you got it and it all sunk in. So it has been a pleasure. I know that if you utilize this, it is going to bless you. It should have blessed you just even listening to everything. Just know that you are special, that you're empowered, that you're awesome, and that you can achieve anything you want to because you deserve to. So I will see you on video 4, because I'm ready for people to start rocking their life out. It's been a pleasure.